Hey guys, what's up? Billy's not here yet, so he asked me to take care of you for a few minutes while he's still getting ready. I've never done this before, but I think it should be pretty easy. Hey everyone. What's this? There's some comments in Korean. Wow. You guys learned a lot of Korean. Keith, Raymond, why are your names green? Oh, that must be the membership that Billy does. Yes. Billy told me to just keep you guys occupied until he's ready. He'll be here any moment, I think. Okay. I guess since you're all here early, if you have any Korean questions, I can do my best to try to answer them. It's gonna be like super easy. And we'll start with the live stream. At least, he told me it's the top of the hour. So that's 20 minutes from now, he'll start the actual, the class. Yes. Oh, we have a question. Cupcake Gamer 123. I love cupcakes. Hi, I have some questions. What's the difference between, 오늘도 and 보통? And noun 시작 and noun 시작하다. Well, the first one is just also today. The second one means regularly. They're very different words. That's all I can tell you. Lisp? What are you talking about? My name? Keith, my name's Charlie. Oh, I didn't introduce myself. My name's Charlie. I'm one of Billy's, I'm actually Billy's, it's a secret, but I'm Billy's editor. I edit his videos. I'm practically running the whole channel. And he never really talks about me, does he? But yeah, so today Billy's still getting ready. He asked me to take care of the stream for a few minutes. Cosma. Hello, Cosma. Would you be able to tell me what korida is? That's super easy. I can't believe you asked such a simple question. 중얼거리다, 칭얼거리다, 서거리다. You know, it's so easy for me. It's beyond, it's way under my Korean level. My Korean level's like a 5. Like 500. Billy can take, I think you should ask that question to Billy when he gets here. That's a question for Billy. That's like way too easy for me. Other questions, maybe like more difficult questions that only I can answer. Please. Welcome. Yes, Billy's coming soon. Don't worry. He's getting ready. Another minute? Billy? Okay, yes. Just a minute. He'll be here soon, he says. Okay. Okay, any other questions? Questions that can use my brain? Revenge of the Nerds? Well, that would be the day. Okay. Yes. Welcome. We'll get started with the class very soon. Any other questions? Okay, Billy. He said, 10 seconds. Someone else asking my name? It's Charlie. Okay, all right. Billy says he's here. So, Billy's coming. I'll see you guys again. Bye, or whatever it is the Billy says. Yes? Billy! Yeah, hold on. Billy! They're waiting, I said. I know. Just give me a second. Hey, thanks, Charlie. Did I do good? Did you watch me? Yeah, you're great. Great. Thanks, Charlie. Hey everyone, sorry. I just had to use the bathroom. It couldn't wait, and I didn't have anyone else to start the stream, so that was Charlie. He normally doesn't show himself on camera. He's a bit shy. But yeah, he edits all of my videos. He does all of the behind scenes stuff for me, so thanks, Charlie. That was great. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, so yeah, we'll get started with the class in about 15 minutes. But in the meantime, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, now is a good time. We can talk about Korean, or we can talk about Korea, or anything that you want. We've got some time for that right now. Let's see who's here. Welcome, Cosma. Hey, Keith, Raymond, a few new people. Let's see who else I recognize. MC, Yoon, Flo, Lady Napbug. Welcome. Who else do I recognize? Claire, Ione. I've seen you a few times. Kevin. That's all I can think is Home Alone. It's a good thing. Mafaz, I've seen you here a few times. Jejongsby. Do you at least offer Charlie health or dental insurance? I don't know. I don't offer anything to him. He works for Doritos and Mountain Dew. He's been pretty happy with that for the past 12 years or so. 13 years actually now. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't complain. Let's see if I missed anything. We did have a question. Oh, Cosma, I see, had asked a question. I don't know if Charlie answered it. You're asking about korida. So korida is one of the possible endings that you can attach onto a lot of the sound words, like what we might call onomatopoeia. Sound words in order to change the sound into a verb. So you can kind of think of it in English like how we might say like thud is a sound, right? We don't have too many sounds in English like Korean does, but let's just say thud. Like, what is thud, right? It's something kind of heavy hitting the ground, right? But how would you say a verb version of thud? You might say it went, like to go, right? We'd use like kada in English, and korida takes that function. It basically just turns a sound into a verb. And it's not the only, I guess the best way to explain what it is grammatically, it's like a suffix style. It's a verb itself, but it acts as a suffix to create it to change it into a verb. So it's like instead of the sound, which might be like grumbling or whispering or whatever, it turns it into to grumble, like to go, or like to go thud, to go whatever that you're saying. Ida is another one. Teda is another one. Korida is a really common. Hada also can take this role too. It'll depend on the verb. Different verbs will have different ones, and some sounds will have multiple ones that they can attach to turn it into that noun. To turn it into that verb, but that's all it is. 혹시 냉장고를 부탁해. Oh yeah, I've seen that show on the airplane a bunch because it's like one of the only shows that they have available on Air Premia, the airline. They only have like, I swear, it's like 5 movies and like 10 episodes of TV shows you can watch in the entire media center. And it's been that way for years. And one of the shows that they constantly get is that show. So basically, like, please take care of my refrigerator. Like, do something about my refrigerator, I guess is maybe how you can translate it. And they'll have like celebrities on and open up their totally real, not prepared refrigerators. And then the chefs will cook stuff with it that just so happens to have sometimes more ingredients than they had in their anyway. Not saying they fabricate anything, but I have watched that show. It's kind of fun. But it's funny. It's fun when it really depends on the guests that they get. They'll get guests sometimes that are like, they're just having a blast. They're like really funny people. And then the chefs make stuff and you get to see the reactions. And other times they have guests where they're like, I don't know what I like to eat. Oh, I guess I like that. It's good. And then they eat the next thing. It's good. It's good. Like, so it depends on the reaction. It depends on the guest that they get, whether the show is fun or not. But yeah. Any suggestions for the Topic 1 exam? I would say Topic 1 is still at the lower levels that you don't need to study so much for it to do it. The first ones, I would just focus on your regular grammar, your regular speaking for Topic 1. Beyond, once you start getting into the higher levels, that's when you need to just take practice tests. But for the first one, the very first level, it's just going to be basic Korean. Charlie, I mean, he'll take the difficult, he's listening. So I'll just say it was probably too simple for him, but it's okay. I can take care of that. Don't worry. Oh, so Mafaz is asking a good question. So 힘이 들 때면, so a very specific question. First of all, before I erase this, you want to know the prerequisites for today, that you can make the past tense. You can say the future tense. I'm kind of like smiling because most of you should already know this. But if you don't, then this lesson might be too above your level, because it's actually an intermediate level lesson, but it uses beginner level grammar forms to work. So these are the forms you want to know first before diving into today's lesson, as well as the ending 지, or the polite version 조, like 하지, 없지, 했지, like that, 조, 있죠. So like, isn't it? Like that. So you want to know these three things for today. So you're asking about 힘이 들 때. And part of the reason why you're having this question is whatever resource you're using to learn is not teaching you the proper verb. I can't assume that they're teaching all of them like that, but 힘들다 is not really the proper verb. It's part of the verb. I'll just write in red because it shows up really well for right now. So this is probably how most places will teach the verb 힘들다, to be difficult. Like something's really like physically hard, tough to do, challenging. You can also use it to say you're having a hard time. Like, 나 너무 힘들어. Like, it's not saying I am so difficult, but it's saying things are so difficult for me, to feel that things are difficult. But the verb is actually not 힘들다. It's actually 힘이 with the subject marker. 들다. It means to take energy, literally. So if it's optional, most of the time it's not with this e subject marker, but it's there technically. It just gets shortened. So if you see 힘이 들 때는, the 들 is from here. The 때 form attaches after after this thing. You like 하다 becomes 할 때. 들다 becomes 들 때. So it's just 힘이 들 때면. So when you're having a hard time, when things get tough, is what it means. Hopefully that helps. This red marker though is like kind of almost permanent. Like it's hard to erase. Okay, let's see some other comments before we get started. Mikey says, I got back from Korea for the first time. Nice. My suggestion is to learn the word for plastic bag. 봉투. So you're probably talking, before I read the rest of your comment, are you talking about this sentence? 봉투 필요하세요? And you're probably like, 네? 봉투. So yeah, that is something you're going to hear whenever you go to any store, like literally everywhere is going to ask you that. 봉투 is the simple word for, it's actually normally like an envelope, but it's like a flat kind of bag. That's what they use for referring to plastic bags. The full word is 비닐 봉투. Plastic bag. But 비닐 literally is vinyl with plastic. 비닐 봉투. But they'll usually just shorten it to say 봉투 because it's the same thing. And they might ask 봉투 필요하세요? Like, do you need a bag? 봉투 필요하세요? So they'll ask you this at the store. And if you say 네, 주세요, then you get charged. It's like, I don't know how much you paid. Is it like 50won or something like that? Like 51, or it's something, it's pretty cheap. But if you already have a bag or you don't need a bag, just save your money and don't get the trash. I actually usually say yes. Or if I don't already have them, or I'll just buy a big pack of like 80 for like 1,001 from Daiso, because I use them a lot for not the trash bags, which you have to buy separately in Korea, but for different types of recycling bags that you need to have. For example, like you can't just throw everything together in the trash can. You have to separate things that are like general, like thin plastic, 비닐, from things that are like PET, like the bottles for drinks and stuff, for cans, for paper. These are just some of the things you have to separate. Other things you want to keep separate are like batteries, food waste. Those will have a different disposal methods anyway. But I'll have separate bags anyway. So if I don't have them, typically when I first go to Korea, I'll always just say yes. And that way I can use the bag after for like a quick place to throw some of my different trash whenever I'm there. Okay. And Mikey also says, oh yeah, that's right. I finished reading that. Welcome. 오늘부터 휴가 시작이다. So, 시작이다 is just 시작 plus 이다. It is the beginning. 시작하다 is to begin. So you're saying it begins. Hopefully that answers it. Lady Natbug asks, if I want to make oppa, which is relative to a female, an older male friend, literally it's like an older brother, but it could also be an older male friend. So if I want to make oppa possessive, to say like his, right? My older brother or my older male friends, as I belong to oppa, would it be oppas? Oppas, you could use it and they'll understand what you're saying because Koreans are familiar with the apostrophe S and the sound. And sometimes people actually do that. They will add this s onto the end of a word. This is not standard Korean, but if you see it, that's what it is. They'll add this onto the end of the word jokingly just to mean like apostrophe S, like that's, or plural as well, like many of them, like that. Oppas, like that. You could say it's like many oppas or it's theirs. But be careful using it because it would have to be someone that's familiar with at least this basic amount of English, and it has to be in context. So if you just use it and they're like it's not 100% sure that you're talking about someone owning something, then it would be awkward. But if you did use it and it's clear in context, it could be pretty funny. But no, you would just use the regular 의. Oppa A, pronounced as A. Okay. Not in a sentence, but a one-word statement on a t-shirt. Oh, okay, no. you would probably do there are many ways you could do it, like 오빠 것. But it would depend like what you mean. Like, oh, he's mine. You might say a different expression for that. Like 오빠는 내 것 might work. Like the other expression 내가 찜했어, like are like what's the expression we say in English? Like I called him. Like that, you can use that. There are a few other ways you could say it, but I'd have to think about it for a while to think of like what would be a really short one that you could put on a t-shirt. Okay, we'll get started soon. I think just 1 minute we'll get started. Welcome. Lexica, hey! 비닐 봉지. Yes, 봉지 is good too. 봉투 is usually the one that they're going to ask you at the store. 비닐 봉지 would be like plastic bag and any sort of plastic bag in general. Please teach us some modern or Gen Z words. I do. Anytime there's a word that sticks for any period of time, like it's not just something that a few people use here and there and it disappears, like most slang, any slang that sticks around, you'll hear from me also. No, Keith. Apai 장난감, dad's toy? Like that would be like just literally like it belongs to him, like that. I hate when my brother used to take my stuff. Yeah. Did my brothers take my stuff? Not really. And way. Okay. Let's get started with the lesson. We've got several things to cover actually in this lesson. We're going to be talking about 3 ways that you can use to say would have. And 2 of them are very standard and you might have seen them before. The third one is more of a conversational, almost like a slang way of saying would have done something or like would have been a certain way. The first one though is a form you probably have already learned and another form you've already learned combined together. And that is you take a past tense verb stem. So that's easy to get. All you do is you conjugate any verb you want into the past tense like normally. And it's always going to leave you with these, right? Whatever form you're using. Like let's say you're doing 하다. Well, normally you'd get 했어요, right? Or 했어 or 했습니다, whatever you want. It always ends in that double 시옷 thing right here. All you do is you cut off everything that's after that double letter. And now you have the stem of a past tense verb. So it's pretty simple to start. Then what you do is you're going to attach to the past tense verb stem the future tense ending, which is just this letter. Sorry, not this letter. This syllable, since it comes after a consonant, and then 것이다, which you're going to conjugate however you'd like. This often will become this will become something like 거예요 or 거야. So you should be familiar with this, the regular future tense form 것이다. Now there are other forms that you could do like 겁니다, 거네요, anything like that. But this is just an example. So you take 것이다 and you conjugate it however you normally would conjugate it. So basically what you have is the past tense combined with the future tense. So what does that look like? If we take the verb 하다, we get 했어요. Well, let's get the stem. So 했을 거예요, for example. 했을 거예요. Literally, we have 했어요. So I did But future tense, I will. I did, I will. I will have done. Yeah, literally, this is saying will have been or will have done. More colloquially, more in for regular conversation, you would just say would have, but literally will have. So this form is a literal, straightforward way to say would have. If you use this form, it will always be understood as you saying something or someone would have been or would have done, like that, because it literally means that. Okay, I'll leave this up for just a moment. There's still one more thing we have to talk about it, but that's mostly it for this form. Did you instead take his stuff? Did I take my brother's stuff? I'm trying to think. I don't think so. No. We didn't do that. It was just, we had some stuff that was shared between us anyway. But then by the time we were, like, some of us were moving out, other people just, figured, oh, I'll take this because I liked it the most. And no one really cared. Like, okay. Like different member got the Nintendo, different member got the Xbox, stuff like that. But not really. And then for anyone who's here their very first time, if anyone's watching the stream for your very first time, you've never been to one of my streams before, where are you watching from? I'd be curious to know. Put in the chat where you're watching from right now. Okay, so I'll read that after I finish this explanation. I'll read those wherever you're from. There's one more thing you also need to know about this form, and that it can be used in any speech level. Because, as I said, it literally just means will have or would have. So you can use it in polite speech, like koshida could become koeo or komnida if you want to be formal, or casual, koya, or anything like that. So it can be used anywhere. Okay. Canada. Nice. South Africa. London. 미국. Nice. 미국. Me too. Netherlands. Germany. Poland. Another Germany. Nice. 독일. Hard to erase. Okay. So let's do a few example sentences. Just a few. Oh, Lexica. Lexica is our first supporter today, our first sponsor of the stream. Thank you, Lexica. 감사합니다. And let's see what you wrote. Minute 7. Praise be. Would have been sad to have missed this lesson. I would have been sad. 슬프다. So, past tense. 슬펐어요, right? 슬펐. And then 을 거예요. So, 슬펐을 거예요. 이 방송을 놓쳤으면, 놓치다 is to miss, like to not get an opportunity, to not get something. 방송을 놓쳤으면 슬펐을 거예요. 많이 슬펐을 거예요. I would have been, literally, I will have been sad, very sad. Thank you, Lexica. But that's not our first example. Our first example is this sentence. 그건, which is 그것은. 그건 아빠가, so dad. Since it's 아빠, it's going to be my dad, not someone else's. 아빠가 이미 is already, 하다, to do. So 했어요, normally. 했을 거예요. Will have already done. Dad would have already done that. So that thing, what we're talking about, that, Dad would have already done that. 그건 아빠가 이미 했을 거예요. Dad would have already done that. So that, Dad, he would have already done that. Like that. 그건 아빠가 이미 했을 거예요. Let's see where else people are watching from. Slovenia. Mexico City. Nice. Someday I'll go to Mexico. Someday. What's up with minute 7? Minute 7 special. That's Lexica's minute. They own the entire minute. That's the only minute they are legally allowed to donate. They made a law across Google. You probably missed the email. But they said the law is Lexica is only allowed to donate on minute 7 and not at minute 6 or 8. Otherwise, it's illegal. Okay. So, next sentence. Forgot I don't write the chiat that way. To keep it simple, we'll do another sentence with 하다. 철수가. So our friend 철수가 했으면. So here it's past tense. If. So if 철수 did it. If 철수 had done it, 더, more, 잘하다, to do something well. 더 잘하다, to do something better. More well. 더 잘했을 거예요. So if 철수 had done it, he would have done it better. He literally did it better is what it's saying. 철수가 했으면 더 잘했을 거예요. If 철수 had done it, he would have done a better job. He would have done it better. Okay, I'll leave this up for a minute. We have 2 more sentences, and then there's another form I want to go over. It's true, Keith. If Lexica ever donates outside of that 7-minute, it automatically gets reported. I didn't make these rules. It's just one of those crazy laws. Okay, does this make sense so far? Basically, you're saying did, literally to mean would have. 철수 is everywhere, yes. 철수 유명하죠. 철수. Maybe 철수 made the law. I can't really fight it at this point. He controls everything. I can't really even be talking about him right now. Okay. Next sentence. We're only allowed to say nice things about our dear leader, 철수. Let's do one a little bit more difficult. Okay. 진작 알았으면 같이 갔을 거예요. 진작 is like beforehand, in advance, early. 진작 알다. 알다 is to know. So if I knew this in advance, if I knew this earlier, if I knew this beforehand, 알았으면, if I knew it beforehand, 같이, together, 가다, to go together. 갔을 거예요. So, will go, have gone, would have gone. 같이 갔을 거예요. I would have gone together if I'd known beforehand. I would have gone together with you if I knew about it in advance. 진작 알았으면 같이 갔을 거예요. 진작 알았으면 같이 갔을 거예요. So if I knew about it if I knew about it beforehand, I would have gone together. But I didn't know. 진작 알았으면 같이 갔을 거예요. Okay, 1 minute, then we have a last sentence for this form. And there actually are more sentence examples if you get the worksheet for my live stream, which, well, you get the outline as well, but you can also get a worksheet which has an extra, I think it's like 9 sentences on it for this week. And that has more examples for each of the 3 forms we're doing. All of the worksheets for every live stream have extra examples, more than I could include in the live stream. Mafaz says, I think the one we met earlier was, no, that's Charlie. Of course, you're crazy. That's Charlie. Let's see. Keith says, I had no, Keith, you guys are silly. Is this similar to tende? No. Tende, and actually I was going to mention that at the very end of the class. Tende, te니까, there are other forms that can be used to also mean this sort of thing, but don't have the literal meaning of would have. So we're not going to be covering them in this live, but I have done many other videos about those forms, including a full live stream about tende and te니까. But those don't have the same meaning those don't literally mean would have or should have, they don't mean would have or should have it either, but they don't mean would have. You can translate them as that in certain cases, but they have a different meaning. So since I'm not going to do that live stream again right now, but the really quick answer is those are more like saying, I'm sure. Okay. All right. Last sentence here. Hold them no. Oh, you're good. Trust me. Okay. Last sentence. I want you to finish this sentence. So we're going to start with 1시간 전에 출발했어도. 1시간, 1 hour, 전, before. So 1시간 전에, an hour before. 출발하다 is to depart. So to leave. 했어도. So 했어요 is we did. 했어도 is even if we did, past tense. Even if we did, like that, left an hour earlier, and I want you to use this verb. 늦다 is to be late. Interestingly, 늦다, there is a version of 늦다, it looks the same way. One of them is a descriptive verb and means to actually, literally, someone is late, like you're describing something or someone is being late, like the late movie or the late whatever project. And then another word, exactly the same spelling, that's an action verb, which means to be late, like the act of being late, like, oh, I don't want to be late, or I was late, or whatever. And depending on whether you're using it as a descriptive verb or an action verb, you have to conjugate it slightly differently if you're with some forms. Like plain form would be the 늦다 in descriptive, and action would be 늦는다. So 늦는다 would be active. Like if you wanted to say 자꾸 늦는다, like that person keeps being late, you wouldn't say 자꾸 늦다. because that means something is descriptive, often late. Anyway, that would be maybe a separate lesson if we wanted to go over that. But yeah, just interesting. But in this case, it's the same thing. So a lot of forms, you would never notice it. So we would have been late even if we left an hour earlier. How would you make that sentence? Or at least how would you make the 늦다 part? 도착 안 했을 거예요. Okay, we wouldn't have arrived? Well, I mean, if you never would have arrived at all, sure. Mafaz, your sentence makes grammatical sense, but it wouldn't. I can't think of a situation where you would say, even if we left an hour earlier, we wouldn't have arrived. Like, maybe if there's a context where you decided that you wouldn't have gone there, I guess, but you would probably want to say on time. We wouldn't have arrived on time, in which case you would say we couldn't have, not we 안, which is like choosing to, we did not, but 못, we couldn't. Yes, Mikey, perfect. Mafaz, I see you wrote it the second time as well. Perfect. Oh, Keith, nice. Otapi, nice with the Otapi addition there. Perfect. Lexica as well. Perfect. Nikki as well. Nice. Nice. Cupcake Gamer. Kiwi Panda. Very nice. Yoon. Very nice. Yes, very nice. Ayani. 제 시간에 is. Yes, that's a common way to do it. 제 시간에 is on time. Like on at the right time, I guess would be a way to translate it. Maybe the street fell down. So, Asher, actually, I know you're joking, but actually, you couldn't still say on in that case, even if the street disappeared. Because on is something that you, like if you were to say I do not versus I can't, you have to pick one. You can only pick I do not or I can't. Which one would you pick in that situation? Is it I do not arrive on time, or is it I can't arrive on time? It has to be can't. Just like a really common mistake. Oh, let me erase this and I'll write the answer and I'll tell you what I'm talking about. After I do the sentence, I'm gonna explain that in a second after I finish the sentence. Okay. 1시간 전에. So 1시간, 1 hour. 전에, before, earlier. So an hour earlier, an hour before. 출발하다, to depart, to leave. So 출발했어도, even if I departed or left an hour earlier, 늦다, to be late. 늦었을 거예요. I would have been late even if I left an hour earlier. So even if I left an hour earlier, I would have been late. 1시간 전에 출발했어도 늦었을 거예요. 1시간 전에 출발했어도 늦었을 거예요. Because we were already late, like 2 hours late. So even if I left an hour earlier, I would still be late. Okay, let me really quick do a note about those two things I mentioned. Okay. Actually, let's do it a little differently. Let me show you the exact sentence I hear many like conversational Korean speakers use. Oops. And I'll write it nicer. Okay. This is the same difference as an and 못. I'm just putting at the end of the 하다 because this is how I hear a lot of people do it. I've heard a lot of people say something like, 한국어 잘 하지 않아요. 잘 하지 않아요. Like, I don't speak it well. Literally, 하지 않아요. I do not. So, 잘, well, 하지 않아요. I do not speak Korean well. Perfect. I mean, right? It should be, because that does mean, like, 가지 않아요. I don't go. 아니요, 가지 않아요. 잘 가지 않아요. I don't go to Korea often. 한국어 잘 하지 않아요. I don't speak Korean well. But it's wrong because the 지 않다 form or the an suffix, either one, if you want to use like an or 지 않다, same thing. Overall, I mean, there's some differences, but you know what I'm saying. For as far as the meaning of do not or does not, it's the same. So literally it has to do with you do not, like I do not as I can't, but I just won't. Like, hey, do you speak Korean? Nope. I'm not speaking Korean with you. That's what it means. If you tell someone 한국어 잘 하지 않아요, I'm not going to speak Korean well today. You know, I just don't feel like it. Or for whatever reason, nah, I don't speak Korean well today. I'm not feeling it. 아니야. 잘 안 해요. It has a different meaning. It means, like I said, literally means I don't speak it well, or 잘 can also mean often. So it could also mean I don't speak Korean often, but it cannot mean I am not able to speak Korean well. I don't speak Korean well, like as in I can't. If you mean to say you're unable to do something, you have to use 못, either 지 못하다 or 못하다. So 한국어를 잘 못해요 means I can't speak Korean well, and 한국어를 잘 안 해요 means I'm not going to speak Korean well for whatever reason. So yeah, make sure you are using an and 못 correctly. That just remember that an is kind of like your choice. Like if you wanted to say another example I hear people saying is like I don't see. They might say like can you see it or whatever? Do you see it over there? 안 봐요. As in like I don't see it, because 보다 is to see. Oh, 안 봐요. That means I'm not going to look at that. Like I ain't looking at that. I refuse to look. 안 봐요. I'm not going to look, which is a regular way to say it. Like if someone's going to show you something gross, 안 봐요. Like I'm not going to look at it. But you wouldn't say like that would not mean I can't see it for whatever reason. It wouldn't even mean I can't look at it. I refuse. Or it wouldn't mean like I'm unable to see it, like something's blocking my vision. It just straight up means I'm not going to do that. I refuse to do that, which is the same as here. Like I refuse to speak Korean well versus I'm unable to speak Korean well. So the word don't in English has both of these meanings. Like, yeah, I don't swim could mean you don't like to swim, right? Or it could mean you're not able to swim. And it'll depend on the context. If someone says, hey, do you swim? Do you know how to swim? I don't swim. Probably you're talking about you're unable to. But it could also mean like, hey, you want to go swimming? I just had a bunch to eat. I don't swim when I'm full. I don't swim when I'm full. Doesn't mean I can't, but I refuse to. I choose not to. So in English, we mess it up. We do both of those meanings in one word. Korean, they're separate. So just keep that in mind. So in your sentence, when you said like, we don't 도착하다, 도착 안 해요, or whatever, that would mean we choose to not arrive in time. And if you make that mistake, don't feel bad, because I'm pointing this out. I've heard so many like otherwise mostly fluent Korean speakers make this same exact mistake. I remember having a conversation with a guy in full Korean for like 30 minutes. And then sometime in the middle of the conversation, he was saying something like he doesn't speak Spanish very well or whatever. And he said like, 잘하지 않아요 is what he said. And I'm like, I mean, I guess if he can make this mistake, anyone can make the mistake. This guy spoke Korean pretty well. So yeah, it's a normal mistake I hear. I just wanted to point it out because I do see it sometimes. Yes. Maybe if you're trying to be fashionably late. Nice. Yes. Yeah. I just don't like to arrive late, you know. 일찍 도착 안 해요. 그냥 일찍 도착 안 해요. 웬만하면 일찍 도착하지 안 하려고 그래요. 출발했어도 도착할 수 없었을 거예요. Yeah. If you want to say like, even if we had left an hour earlier, we would not have even been able to arrive. You could say that, Asher. I mean, it's a very complicated sentence as it is in English. Even if I had left an hour earlier, I would not have been able to arrive. It's like a bit excessively long is well in Korean. The reason is just you could have expressed that thought more simply in English, right? Even if I left an hour earlier, I wouldn't have arrived in time is a little easier, but it makes sense. It's grammatically correct. And you could say the same thing in Korean. It just has a bit of a long-winded nuance to it. Okay. I wrote that really weird. Let's check the chat for a bit. Yes. Yong Suck says, I might make Korean podcast. Nice. I'm going to be doing one too soon. Claire's asking, why use hada and not 말하다? So when you are talking about speaking a language and you say like 한국어 말해요, it literally means I speak Korean. 한국어 잘 말할 수 있어요. I can speak Korean well. That's correct. However, you can shorten 말하다 to just 하다 when you're talking about speaking a language. It has the exact same meaning as 말하다, but it sounds more natural because if you don't shorten it, it can sound a little bit repetitive. Now, this is not part of the lesson. I'll just write it down here. Let me show you why. Can you see why? Can you see why it might sound a bit repetitive? Just say this out loud to yourself in your head. Korean, 한국말. You could also say it 한국어, but 한국어, the 어 means 말. 어 is 한자 for words, so it's the same thing. 한국말 말해요. 한국말로 말해주세요. You could say it. 한국말로 말해주세요. Please speak in Korean. But when you're saying 한국말 잘 말해요, it sounds a bit repetitive. So it's more common that 말 gets removed when you're talking about a language because it seems a bit repetitive. Like 말하다 is to do words, but you're saying to do words, Korean words. Literally, Korean words do. So Korean words I do is what you're kind of saying. It sounds a bit repetitive, so it's more common that you just say 하다, but same meaning. It's better to say 한국말 해요, 한국말 하다, or 한국어 하다. I know I'll make that mistake even though I know better. Yeah, it's okay. But now after you make the mistake, you'll be like, oh yeah, Billy told me I might make that mistake. And don't feel too bad about yourself if you do, because I've heard other people do it too. I don't think I've made that mistake, but I mean, at least not that I remember, but the only reason is because they also have the same thing in Japanese, not because the languages are related or anything, but because Japanese also does the distinction between unable to do and does not do in a different way than Korean, but they also have a distinction for that. So I don't think I made that mistake in Korean that I remember, but it's possible. I might have done it when I was a beginner. I might have said something like, 요리 잘 하지 않아요, or something like that. Like, I'm not going to cook well. How dare you ask me? Well, I'm not going to cook well. I'm going to cook poorly. Thanks for asking. Okay. The next form is actually, it's the same thing we just did, but using a different form. You take the past tense verb stem again, which ends with these two letters. Hold on. I got a donation. Who is that? Oh, Flo. Flo Purdy, thank you. Bottom of the hour. Well, let me see if I can like that. Is it the bottom of the hour? It is. It's 30. It's 31 actually, but I won't call it in. I won't report it. Technically, the legal limit is right at the 30-minute mark, but thank you. I won't report you. To see if I missed any other comments while looking down. Asher is talking about 잠자다, 꿈꾸다. Yes. Those are actually interesting. Those are one thing I think that's a nice distinction from Korean and Japanese is in my memory, I don't think Japanese has those types of things. like dream a dream, sleep a sleep, draw a drawing. Like a lot of that stuff. We do some of that stuff in English too. But Korean has a lot of those. It was 30 when I started the purchase. Okay, then I'm sure the FBI will let you off with a warning this time. They're not gonna pursue anything. But you know, I can't tie myself to that. So if they ask me, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so this is the same form we just did, but now with a different ending. Instead of the koshida future tense, this one uses the ketta future tense. Remember how there are two common future tense forms, koshida, like 할 거예요, and ketta, like 하겠습니다, for example. So this one should be the same thing, right? Will have been or will have done, meaning would have been or would have done. Yes, but there's a small nuance difference, and it's pretty important. Normally, when you use ketta, it's going to be used to make formal speech most of the time. Like, its most common way you're going to see it used in the future tense form will be to say something will be, someone will do something in formal speech. Like, I will go. 제가 가겠습니다. 제가 하겠습니다. I will do it. 해드리겠습니다. I shall do it for you. Like that. It's most often used just to say, I will do something. And it's used in formal speech. When it's not used in formal speech, the most common way you're going to see ketta used is actually not regular it's not future tense, but it's going to be to say something like must be, must have. I'm sure of it. It looks like that. Most of the time when you use ketta, it's used for making a guess or assumption about something. So, like if you were to say, oh man, that pizza looks amazing. That kimchi looks like it's going to be really good. 맛있겠다. 너무 맛있겠다. 맛있겠네. You're not saying it will be good. It will be delicious, but you are saying it must be. Like, I'm sure of it. I'm making a guess. I'm pretty sure. I'm assuming. So when you use this form with this, what you're saying isn't literally it will be, but you're saying, oh, I'm sure of it. It must be. Like that. So you're saying that would have been. Like that must have been. It looks like it was. It seems like it was. Or if you ask a question, it could be, do you think that it was? Like, hey, do you think it must have been? Like that sort of thing. You're talking about making a guess or an assumption about something. So like, I assume it must have been. So a really easy way to remember this one, I would say, isn't just would have, but kind of like saying it probably would have. Like that. Because again, you're making a guess or an assumption because of this form. Although literally it is the future tense. The way it's used most often is for making guesses. So it's kind of like saying, hey, yeah, probably. And as a result, this form, although it also means something or someone would have, like would have been or would have done, it sounds less certain than using the koshida form, which is literally, as we talked about, just something would have been, will have been. So that means, then what is the difference? Then what is the nuance of koshida in comparison? Well, koshida, as we said, it sounds, oh wait, sorry. I need to erase this and redo this because this is guess and assumption. Probably is not the word that I wanted to use for here. I started thinking about it because I was reading off my notes and I read one line ahead to the next part, and I'm like, and then I started thinking about it and I'm like, wait, less certain? No, this would be more certain. So I'm gonna redo this. Pretend I only got up to here. I'll fix it in the edit, but you guys are watching live, so it's okay. Okay, so yeah, it's like a guess or an assumption about something. So like it would have been, it looks like, it seems, do you think it was? So all that's fine. But the nuance isn't necessarily probably, because this is, again, it's like making an assumption about something. This one has, there we go. Now this feels better. Yeah, after I wrote it, I'm like, wait, something feels wrong here. And then I checked, I'm like, I wrote it backward. Okay. This one actually has the nuance more like, it definitely is. Again, it's your guess. You're making an assumption, but like, yeah, it should be. Like when you see something delicious. Oh, 맛있겠네. Oh man, that's got to be delicious. That looks really good. I'm sure it's going to be really good. Like, I'm sure of it. Kind of like that. So it's kind of like saying definitely would have. Oh yeah, that definitely would have. Kind of like that. So as a result, pretend you didn't read what I wrote before. This one has more of a certain feeling. This has more of a certain nuance. Like you're more sure of it. Like, yeah, oh yeah, definitely that would have been like that. Because again, you're making your guess. You're making an assumption about something. In contrast, there we go. In contrast, the nuance of koshida is more literal, as we said. It's like something will have been or will have done. And it has more of the nuance of like making a prediction, like it will have done, it will have happened, like literally. It's more straightforward. It sounds more factual. So it's not like, oh, I'm sure. Yeah, definitely. I assume it would be like that. But it's more just something will have done, will have been. And the koshida version sounds much more neutral because of that. It doesn't have that nuance of making a guess or an assumption. So the koshida form is kind of like, in comparison to this, it's kind of like saying probably. You're just saying something will have been, probably. You're not really that sure, but you're not saying it's not. You're not making like your assumption, but you're just saying, yeah, probably. Whereas this one's more certain. So, koshida, less certain. Keta, more certain. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, okay. That's the difference between these two forms, and I'll show you some examples in just a second. I'm just going to leave this up so you can write it down, because I know I erased something, give you a little bit extra time. Keta is uncertain, but keta is certain. What? No. Keta is the form keta by itself. Normally, not with this, but normally when you use it for the future tense, it has the feeling of, oh yeah, that's gotta be. Oh man, that must be. Like that. Like you're making a strong guess about something. Like if someone tells you about their difficult day, oh man, I had 5 customers yell at me today. You can say, oh, 정말 힘들었겠어요. 아, 진짜 힘들었겠다. That must have been really hard. You're not saying, oh, that guess, maybe that was kind of hard, maybe. You're not saying that. You're like, oh man, that must have been. It's more of like, it's like a must be, must have been sort of feeling. Must have been like that. So definitely, if you see good taste, like food, someone sends a picture of food that looks really good. Oh, 맛있겠다. You're not saying, maybe that's good. I don't know. I can't try it. But you're saying, oh man, that's got to be the best thing ever. So you're like making a strong assumption about it. And that feeling also carries over into this form. It's the same thing, the same ending. I'm listening to this while editing my own video. Nice. Okay. So let's do a few example sentences. Just an unrelated note. if you ever see something that ends with kessoyo, it's going to be the meaning of like must be. It's not going to be the meaning of will do. Now, literally it does, but when it's used when it's used in the regular form, that's not 합니다, like 했습니다, it's not used in formal speech. 99% of the time, it's just being used to say would be. So if you ever see kessoyo in any usage, you can automatically tell yourself it's not going to be like something will be ever. It's always going to be like a would be, must be, that sort of meaning. 시험, a test or quiz. 시험이 시작되다, to be started, to start. 시작되었겠네요. So I'm assuming definitely the test must have started. So the test must have started. I assume, pretty sure, must have started already. The test must have started. 시험이 시작되었겠네요. So again, you're making an assumption. You're like, yeah, I mean, I assume the test must have already started. Like that. You're not saying literally, 시작되었을 거예요. Oh yes, by now the test must have started by now. Probably. You're not saying that. You're saying, oh yeah, man, it must have already started. Yeah, definitely. I'm making an assumption. So that's the nuance difference. But you could make the same sentence with both forms, like I just did. 시작되었을 거예요. Same thing, the test would have already started, but the nuance is different. Again, that's more of a, like, probably, maybe sort of meaning. And this is like a, oh yeah, I guess the test must have already started, like that. It's that must have, that must definitely kind of feeling that you get with this ending. Okay, I'll leave this up for just a minute before we go on to our next sentence. I have 2 more sentences for this form, and then I have 1 more form that you probably do not know. Even if you are advanced, you probably do not know this next form we're going to be doing, although it's in the title. So, Keith is saying, doesn't 텐데요 do that too? Yes and no. 텐데요, I have a separate live about it, and I didn't want to incorporate it in this one just because of time, even though it kind of would work. So the 텐데요 form is for making a strong assumption about something, which, assumption, interesting. But it's most often used to say, therefore, do something else. Therefore, something else happens. It's used as like a precursor to giving a command to someone. Like, because of this, because I'm sure something is going to do something or something would have already done something, therefore, don't even bother. Therefore, help me. Therefore, something like that. So it comes hand in hand with like a command or like something that goes together with, because of that. It's sort of like a because form in that sense, that it has to go together with something. Or if it doesn't go together with something, it implies that it's going together with something. Like, hey man, the test would have already started before, so don't even bother going, like, or you should hurry up and give me a ride there. Something like that. It has to go together with. And I have there's a few more other details about when and where it's used. But the 텐데요 form is also a future tense, because the form 터 originally is future. But I would recommend watching the separate live stream I have about that. I think I did that in like 2019 or something like that, 2019, 2020. I did a live stream about 텐데 and 테니까, and that'll help answer your questions about it. But yes, you could also use that, like, 시험이 시작되었을 텐데요. No, man, I'm sure the test must have already been started. Like, don't even worry about it. Different nuance, though. 텐데, I wouldn't say 텐데 is more sure, but 텐데 does definitely have a I'm sure sort of meaning to it. Oh, my recent course, the Sentence Connectors course, has a lesson about 텐데. So watch that. That's probably my best lesson I've done about 텐데. It's going to be really short too. Emily VBR. Hey, Emily. Does changing your tone change the nuance like it does in English? Nope. Korean does have words where you can adjust the tone to add emphasis, but very little. They don't add emphasis to sentences much with tone. You add emphasis to sentences with using different grammar, and particles are a real big part of that. Particles and verb endings are how you add a lot of nuance to your sentence. a really common thing that people do is they add the topic marker to a word. That's like, it's like default adding extra emphasis. You just stick the topic marker after any word or any particle. And that's like in English, how we might say, like, well, he gave it to me. He was talking to me. Well, I gave the present to Charsu the last time I saw him, but he didn't say anything to Youngie. Like, that's sort of exaggerated nuance, exaggerated tone. That can come from the topic marker, but there are other markers also that you would use and different sentence connectors that you would use to give different types of nuance to the sentence. And I've said this before, but that's how Korean works so differently than English, is that Korean has so many examples of grammar forms and verb endings, especially, where they have the exact same meaning as another form, but the difference is just that nuance, just that different nuance that they give to your sentence. Even though it's the exact same literal meaning, the nuance is completely different. And I do my best to explain the nuance differences, but sometimes it's like, if we don't do something at all similar like that in English, then it's harder to make it make sense. Okay. We'll do one more after this. 더 빨리, more quickly. So quicker, faster. 끝나다, to finish, to end. 끝났겠지? So they would have, or it would have, finished faster. 더 빨리 끝났겠지? Yeah, sure that would have finished faster. I'll give the next sentence in just a second. 모자 더 쌌으면 샀을 텐데요. Oh, you say like if you bought more hats, it would have been cheaper. Yeah, I would say, Keith, I would say check out the lesson that I have in the new sentence connector course, because when I did that course, a lot of stuff that's in there I've already taught in separate lessons, but I forced myself to distill everything down as short and as clearly as I can get it. And I did a new version of the tende and tenika endings in one of those. I can't remember which lesson it's in, though. You'll have to search through. You can actually just look at my book on Amazon and see the table of contents, and I have listed every single form. Or you can go to Google and type Go Billy Korean sentence connectors tende, and it'll show it, because I put them also in the description of the video. And the first slide of the lessons also has exactly which forms are included. Every single one. Like which ones are for beginner, intermediate, and advanced, like that. Which is pretty much what I made the course to be. Although it's called a course, it's really like just a big dictionary of grammar forms. Let's see. Is there an etymological connection between ket and the alt part? No, it actually is. I won't say too much about this because I haven't gone down the rabbit hole of this, but no, it comes from, I believe it comes from call originally, but I can't tell you anything further than that because I haven't researched into it for the original origin. Okay, next sentence. And that'll be our last sentence for this form. If you're just trying, like if this is your first time ever seeing any of these forms, I would stick with the very first one we did, because it's always straightforward. It's always going to mean would have. And if you're just trying to say I would have done something, just use the first one, because it'll always make sense. Because it's pretty literal. Okay. 프랑스 코스 요리. So French course meal, like a cooking meal. Nani. I've done lots of lessons about this separately, but it's like to think. It's reacting to something. Wow, a French course meal? To think it's a French course meal? Like that sort of meaning. And then you would have your reaction after lani. In this case, lani because it's the verb ida, which would be irani after a consonant or lani here after a vowel. This is also only with ida. If you had a different verb, it wouldn't be lani, it would be tani, for example, like hada, hadani, like that. Anyway, I have a separate live stream about that if you'd like to learn. So to think, wow, like a French course meal, 맛있었겠어요. That must have been 맛있어요. That must have been delicious. Dang, you got a French course meal? That must have been amazing, is what it means. 프랑스 코스 요리라니 맛있었겠어요. A French course meal? That must have been delicious. Like that. Okay, I'll leave this up for a minute and then we'll go on to our third and final and most advanced grammar form for saying, what are we doing? Would have. Teleposse says, definitely going to watch your video from 12 years ago about Tende. No, those are very simple. My first series, like the first, I guess, I hope you're joking. The first like 50, I don't know. Like the first year that I was on YouTube, all I was trying to do was make very, very, very simple explanations of all the basic, most commonly confused grammar forms. I had no plans that I was going to be like actually a source for learning Korean that people were going to look to. I really just thought I'm going to be another cog in the machine. Like I'm just going to help out because there aren't any English speaking Korean teachers, like, you know, native English speaking Korean teachers on YouTube. So I just thought, okay, I'll just be one of those. I'll just kind of try to give people a really basic summary they can watch in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes about whatever these common mistakes are. So I didn't put that much thought into like trying to explain everything as, you know, as complex in detail, every example, make it all compressed. I was just like, let's just give them a basic lesson so they can at least understand their sentences. Little did I know that I would be doing YouTube still 13 years later, and I've ended up remaking all of those topics. But I recommend finding something, at least find something from my live streams, because I started those in 2018, and those are all more recent. If it's something basic, check out my beginner course first. If it's something beyond that, I recommend my recent course, Sentence Connectors, because that has like everything. Like it's over 250, or it's like 250 to 270 grammar forms in that course. And that's all free on YouTube. Hey, it's Lizzie. Sorry if I'm late. I was watching a movie. What did I miss? You didn't miss anything. We haven't actually started the lesson yet. Does the French cooking sentence imply the speaker could have had the opportunity to have eaten it? So it doesn't imply that. It's just, so the lani ending is like just to think. Like we might say, wow, to think. Or you can think of it like as a surprised question mark, like a French course meal. And then you have to have a reaction at the end. If you don't have a reaction at the end, you can also finish the sentence with yo if you want to be polite. You can just say 프랑스 코스 요리라니, like a French course meal, like that. So that's kind of the nuance that you get. Man, a French course meal, man, that must have been really good. So as soon as you see the ni ending after a plain form verb or ira or ra, if it's ida, just imagine like a reaction YouTube. I guess it's this way, right? Reaction YouTuber thumbnail like that, because that's pretty much what it is. Actually, This third and final form is more vague to make because it's not an official grammar form. You will not find this in the dictionary, and you probably will not find a lesson about it. But it's the way people sometimes actually speak. This form, you simply take a regular verb and you conjugate it to the past tense. There's nothing special about it. However, this is most often used with the ending ji and tana. Mostly just ji. However, if you're talking with your friend and they're a little older than you, you could also use the cho ending, which is just the polite version, or tanayo. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be ji. All this is the past tense, right? Like hada would become 했지 or 했잖아, like that. That's it. You're not actually saying would have. What you're saying is, I did. It was. Past tense. You are literally just saying something already happened. So then, why is this form in my would have lesson if it just means did or was? Well, because this is a conversational only way to express would have. It's not used in any sort of like very polite or any sort of formal or official usage. You would never write this on your test. You would never say this to a stranger. It would sound kind of rude. It's only used for conversation and not polite conversations, just regular, everyday, casual, especially. And it's not super common, but you might hear it. What this is again, literally you're not saying something would have, but you're saying something did. In fact, would have, it's such an obvious thing that I already did it, is what you're saying. So it's a more emphatic version. It's a stronger version of, yeah, would have. Because, oh man, I totally did that. If you told me, man, that would have been me, is what you're saying. Like, oh man, I already did it. If you did that, that's done. Consider it a done deal. Like that sort of meaning. You're emphasizing like, of course, would have. Because it's already in the past tense. Not like it would have, but like, oh, it's done. If that were the case, is what you're saying. However, I wrote that X wrong. This form needs context. It needs all the context. If you just go up to someone and say, 나도 갔지. Like 가다, 갔어요. 나도 갔지. It's like, that's just saying I went to, right? It doesn't mean I would have gone without any context. You need the full context for this to work. Because again, what you're saying is, man, that's a done deal. But you can't just walk up and say, man, that's a done deal. I went there. Like, what? But you could say, oh, if you invited me, man, that's a done deal. I would have gone. Like, then it makes sense in context. So you need full context. But that's all you need to know. If you're using this in a sentence where it's clear, like if something, then something would have, you can use this form as well, only in conversations. Let me give you some examples. And to this day, I've never found a single lesson about this on the internet. Don't overuse it though. I would say just keep it in mind, take notes, and recognize it when you see it. But I don't recommend using it because, again, it needs full context or else it doesn't make any sense. Oh, and in case you didn't know, this is an advanced form. So if you are not advanced level, don't like twist your brain around this and try to understand it. Don't worry. You can write down notes, but don't worry about using it unless you're more getting into the advanced level. This is more of an advanced usage. Okay, here's an example sentence. Very natural. 미리, in advance, earlier. This is different from 진작, which means beforehand. 미리 is just before something happens. So in advance, before then. 말해주다, to tell someone. 말해줬으면. So if you told me in advance, 나도 갔지. 나도 갔을 거야. You could say, 나도 갔을 거야. Man, I would have gone too if you told me. 미리 말해줬으면 나도 갔을 거야. If you told me in advance, I would have gone too. Now you're saying, 미리 말해줬으면 나도 갔지. I would have gone. But you're actually saying, man, I went there too. Had you told me. If you told me, man, I was there too, is what it means. Like, of course, I would have been there. 미리 말해줬으면 나도 갔지. Again, 나도 갔을 거야. 나도 갔지. You have full context, and you can use it this way. If, however, you didn't have the context, this does not mean I would have gone too. It means I was there too. 나도 갔지. I was there too. You don't remember? They'd be like, what? I never told you in advance. You didn't go there. 나도 갔지. You can't say it like that. This reverts to its regular meaning. So you need context. Okay, 2 more sentences. 몰랐어. I didn't know. 냉장고, refrigerator. 냉장고에 넣다, to put something in the refrigerator. 냉장고에 넣어야 한다. I have to put it in the refrigerator. 한다고. So here now it's a quote. 한다고 말하다. To say, you have to put it in the refrigerator. 말해줬으면. So if you had said that you have to put it in the refrigerator, 넣었을 거야. I would have put it in there. 넣었지. 몰랐어. 냉장고에 넣어야 한다고 말해줬으면 넣었지. I didn't know. If you told me I have to put it in the refrigerator, I would have. Is like that. Of course. Dude, I would have put it in the refrigerator if you told me. I didn't know. 몰랐어. 냉장고에 넣어야 한다고 말해줬으면 넣었지. Like, yeah, it would be there. I would have already put it in there. I definitely, 100%, of course, put it in there. Had you told me I have to put it in the refrigerator, I didn't know. It's not my fault, is what you're saying. Okay, I'll leave this up for a minute because it's longer. Any questions? We have 1 more sentence, though. Michael, Michael, don't worry because this is an advanced form. The other grammar forms we did in this lesson are like at the very beginning, the cusp of intermediate level, I'd say. But this one's solidly an advanced form. Because I think it would be easy for someone who's only at a basic conversational level, like say if you're intermediate level, which in itself is challenging. It takes a lot of time to get to. But if you're at that level and you say this, it would be easy for it to be confusing. I don't know why I did my voice like that. It would be easy for it to be confusing because you have to make sure there's the appropriate context for it. Ayakada, that's not a form you could use because 걸 ends the sentence. And it's not with the past tense, it's just regular. So 할 걸, 넣을 걸. But that's not would have, also that's wish I had, like I should have, like that sort of meaning. And I have a separate live stream about that as well. 몰랐어. 냉장고에 넣어야 한다고 말해줬으면 넣었지. I feel like I'm teaching you guys some secret, like, banned mystic arts by telling you this grammar form. Some grammar forms I've taught are like, is it okay to teach them this? I mean, you might hear it, but it's not the technically correct way. And this is one of those also you won't find. Like, I've yet to find this even in I have a grammar book. I have like a big grammar book also for Korean teachers. It's not in there. It's not in Naver Dictionary. I tried to do a search to find if I can, if I was missing anything else for this form. Couldn't find any lessons about it. But you'll hear it. Okay. 그렇게, so, that. 그렇게 can be used before any descriptive verb to mean like so. In this case, delicious, or that delicious, so delicious. 그렇게 맛있는 줄 알다, to know that it's so delicious, to know that it's so good. 알았으면, so if I knew it was that good, 나도, me too, 먹었지, 먹었을 거야. 나도 먹었을 거야. I would have eaten it too. 나도 먹었지. Of course, I would have eaten it too if I knew it was that good. I didn't know it was that good. 그렇게 맛있는 줄 알았으면 나도 먹었지. If I knew it was that good, I would have eaten it, is what you're saying. Of course, I would have had it too. Man, if I knew it was that good, I would have eaten it too. Again, this is a conversational only way to express would have, but you need to have the context. You can't just say, 나도 먹었지. Like, that just means, hey, I ate it too. Why aren't you asking me in my opinion? I already tried it. But if you say, with context, if something, then I did it, then it has that meaning of would have. Like, oh man, of course, I would have already have eaten that. Like, that sort of thing. Like, oh, it would have been a done deal. Okay. Leave this up for just a little bit. And, again, I would say don't use this form yourself. And like I said, it's 지 most of the time, but you could have also changed all of these to 잖아. So you could say 그렇게 맛있는 줄 알았으면 나도 먹었잖아. But 잖아 has the feeling of, hey, like, come on, that sort of meaning. And 지 is just like, right? You know, huh? Man, I would have eaten that too, right? Whereas the 잖아 is like, come on, I would have had that too. It has more of like a you're talking down to them feeling if you use 잖아. But it's the same meaning. You can use it with 지 or 잖아. Or maybe if you're talking to someone like your older friend, but you're still close. 나도 먹었죠. Like that. It's just less common. Most of the time it's going to be 지. So it's like a very specific usage of the past tense. Okay. And that is the lesson. Let me get a really quick thumbnail. I think I might use that. Like that for the lesson. Let's see. Oh yeah. From next Sunday we'll have another live stream. Daylight savings time. I think it ends or it starts. I think it ends or it starts. I don't know. It changes 1 hour. So the live stream next week will be an hour different unless you are also in my same time zone. It's probably going to change 1 hour for you. Unless you're in the US, I think they all shift anyway. So pay attention to the start time for next week. It'll be different than this week. Either way, whether you're in the same time zone as me or not, it's going to be a different time. So yeah, just keep that in mind. We will have another live stream next Sunday, which will have a vote for tomorrow. I don't know what the topic will be yet. Okay, falling back 1 hour. Yeah, I know it's spring forward, fall back, but what does fall back mean? Does that mean we make the clocks 1 hour back? So we get an extra hour of sleep. Is that what it means? I think that's what it means, right? We get an extra hour of sleep for one night, which makes everything like horrible after that because you only get one night of extra sleep. And then the next night, it's harder to fall asleep early, so you don't get an extra hour. I just wish they got rid of it. Just like permanently make this the right now, I think. Yeah, permanently make right now the time that it always is. Okay. Went back yesterday in the UK. Yeah, just keep in mind next Sunday it'll be a little different because that's when ours changes here. Any questions? I'm going to stick around here for the next 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. And I'll take some questions if you have about the lesson or about anything you want to know about Korean. Anything you want. Now's the time. You can also ask about the podcast. I'll be doing another update about the podcast. Probably next week will be the last update for the podcast because I'm ready to start filming. But I do want to do one more update. I don't know what it'll be. Something short just to kind of summarize what's going on. Yeah, the whole thing, the whole set, 100% is all done. I'm looking at it right now. Looks really cool. I did some camera tests yesterday. I'll do another big test this week. And after I've done that big test and adjusted some more things, then I'll maybe do the Patreon update for the podcast. Sweden went back last night too. Okay. Oh man, my stomach's like, I don't know if you heard that. Ended this morning. Okay, I guess some people are already have it at different times. Yeah, I think it's dumb, personally. Like, why? We don't need it anymore. Maybe it was useful if you want to, like, if you have work starts at this time and you can't see in the morning, you can't do work in the morning, and then yeah, I guess it's good to take advantage of the time where the sun's up earlier. But nowadays, anywhere you go has lights everywhere. Like, we have lights in our cars, lights in our houses, lights at companies, lights outside. Like, there's no need for daylight savings time to change anymore. Just pick the one that most people like, which I think is going to be the one we have right now, the daylight savings on. Just keep it. Just make it permanent so we don't have to keep changing our clocks, having trouble waking up, getting bad headaches because you can't sleep, or, sleeping in, but then the next day you can't go to bed on time. Just get rid of it. It's a pain. And it's expensive too, I hear, just because it messes up with everyone's sleep. Every year, so many people pass away because of the stress of having to like wake up an extra hour earlier for work suddenly. This is a good class. Very informative and good explanations. Thank you. And I would say if you want to learn more about this topic, the other forms I would recommend are, we kind of mentioned them, but tende and tenika. Which don't mean would have necessarily, although you could say like 했을 텐데, like, oh man, I would have done that. They do also mean would have in that case when they're used with past tense. But on their own, 할 텐데 doesn't mean would have. It could mean will. So these are separate topics. I recommend searching these on my channel if you want to learn more about them, as well as tamyeon. Because a lot of our sentences used like if something, then I would have done this, right? So you can use the regular 면 form, but you also might use tamyeon. And I have a couple examples in the worksheet, at least one example I remember, that has tamyeon, which is just a stronger version of if. So it's like saying if, as well as horamyeon, which is just a hypothetical. Like, let's just say that. Let's just say if, for example, if you were to, is what it means. Not just if you do it, but if you were to do it. And I have another lesson about that as well on my channel. So check those out. Just some related forms. I've completed learning Hangul and now practicing reading, but not too sure where to go from here. So, Jodo Curls, are you aware that I have a full beginner course where you can get started? I'll put that in the chat. 1 second. Courses. So it's a full 100 episode beginner course. The first like 10 episodes will teach you the alphabet again. So if you already know the alphabet pretty well, you can move. You don't, I wouldn't say skip them because you might still learn something, but you can watch them and you don't have to bother taking notes. Just watch them once. It should only take you like, 20 minutes or so to get through all of them. And beyond there, we'll teach you, expressions, vocabulary, grammar, and it'll go all the way up to a basic conversational level. So it does go pretty far, and that's completely free. Albeit it's all within the beginner level, but it's still pretty high for the beginner level. Asher says, I'm curious about why you still use flashcards for Korean. Don't you just interact with the language? So yes, if you can, the best way to learn a language is, of course, immersion method, which is where you do tons of listening to Korean and you do tons of speaking to Korean and you have Korean friends you can talk with. That's how everyone learns Korean really well. Like all the people I know who actually speak Korean to a high level learned Korean that way, including myself. You study, you're still studying, but the main thing you're doing, the method is that you're doing lots of listening practice so you can get exposed to Korean. You're doing lots of speaking practice so you can actually memorize all the listening practice you're doing. You're doing lots of reading, some writing. You're doing everything and you're spending as much time as you can doing that. That's how people learn languages. And then to make sure you learn the language properly and not just kind of randomly saying a bunch of weird things. And the way you learn it properly is by you study as well. So you study the grammar you're learning and vocab and you look up things so you don't repeat a mistake you heard someone say or use the wrong politeness level to someone just because you heard someone else say it to them, which is a really quick recipe for getting in trouble. But the problem is, in order to do that sort of learning, you have to be in Korea or you have to be around a bunch of Korean people that are not using English to you. Most people don't have the opportunity to go to Korea. Most people are in a city in the US or another country where they might know a couple Korean people, but they're not surrounded by Koreans. They might have an hour of free time a day, maybe 2 hours of free time a day, but they don't really have someone they can talk with for 2 hours a day. And they can't afford a tutor for 2 hours every single day or more. So flashcards are kind of a way to substitute some of that. Instead of being able to hear hours and hours and hours of Korean and pick out which words people are using, you make flashcards so you can kind of still memorize the words, even though you're not hearing them as much. They're just like, they're gaps. What's the word? Gap fillers. They kind of, or like, they just help take the place of other things that you would normally be missing. That way you can still learn the language, even if you're not in an ideal situation. Now, ideally, you move to Korea, you don't speak any English, you make only Korean friends, you speak all in Korean, and you do this 12 hours a day when you're awake. But people can't do that. So yeah, it's the next best thing is vocab study. And still, even if you are in that sort of situation where you're in Korea, you're still going to want to learn vocab because you're not going to get enough Korean vocab just from being in Korea and talking with Koreans. You're going to get a lot of vocab for speaking. You're not going to get all the vocab you would need for writing, for reading, all that. That's going to come from different sources. So you're still going to need to review vocab. Just hearing someone say a difficult vocab word over and over again is not going to put it into your brain long term. You have to actually go out and study that. Like I used to watch the show. Does anyone watch the show House? I haven't seen it in a few years, but I used to watch it. A few years ago, I watched it a bunch. Probably watched like the first couple, maybe 2 seasons. While I was watching that show, did I learn doctor terms? A few. I could learn a few of them. Like especially the ones that I would joke about with my wife. I think it was like intubate was one of the ones. Like you learn a few words here and there, but then as soon as you stop watching it, all that's gone. Like those are not now in your vocabulary because you're not using them. Like if I was going to be a doctor, then sure, I'd use them all the time. But it's the same with Korean. If you're just listening to lots of Korean, you'll eventually end up picking out some more words. But unless you use those words, they're gone again. And you're going to see them again and you're going to forget what they meant the last time. So you have to keep using it to be able to tell your brain like, yes, this is good, keep it. And even people who are native in a language, if they go live in another country for a significant amount of time, their native language gets poorer and poorer if they're not using it. Like someone who's been living in Korea for like 2 decades, speaking in English, but they normally don't speak in English. Like say they marry a Korean, they have a job speaking Korean or whatever, then they speak English and they'll have simpler vocabulary. They won't use all the same grammar they normally would, and it'll be harder for them because their brain's kind of like throwing it out to make room for other stuff that's more important. So you have to keep it up. So yeah, that's one way vocab study is useful. It might be lupus. Yeah, that was true. Lupus wasn't a thing until later, because at least not in the first couple seasons. I don't think they mentioned lupus once, but then I remember later it kind of became a joke, I heard. Do you like Korean trot music? Yeah, trot's okay. Some trot is really fun. Okay, let's see. Do the trains in Korea sell out easily? Yes. If you are doing the trains, especially on weekends, the train you want at the time you want and the type of seat you want will sell out. If you just don't care about that, if you're fine sitting in the middle of the like the section where the trains connect, there's like this little area where the doors are and there's nothing there. There are no seats there. You can just sit on the floor. It's like the metal floor and it's next to the bathroom. If you're okay sitting on the floor, there most likely will be seats on any train pretty much, going anywhere, any direction on any type of train. But if you're feeling like, oh, I want the KTX to go from this station to this station at this time, I want to have a nice seat in this class, it probably will sell out on a weekend. So you want to buy your tickets in advance. But the good news is you get the KoRail app. Don't get the English version of the KoRail app. It sucks. Get the Korean version of the KoRail app. Trust me, it's not hard to use. It's the same. It's better than the English one, and it actually works. Although I think the English one will accept foreign credit cards more easily. Oh, no. I think I did pay with my regular credit card. Anyway, you can buy the ticket in advance through the KoRail app, and then you show them the QR code when you're on the train. But I will say something about that. That's kind of weird, I found, is that sometimes the app will not open if you are on a foreign SIM card. Like, that's not what I mean. If you're using like a SIM card from just back home, like if you have Google Fi or T-Mobile or any of those services that just give you like a foreign SIM card or whatever, and you're opening the KoRail app, not on Wi-Fi, it might not load. That it only will load if you have a Korean SIM card or you're connected to Wi-Fi. So I've had that happen before a few times. Fortunately, it didn't mess anything up. But I've had it happen where it won't let you open the app to show them the QR code that you bought the ticket unless you're connected to Wi-Fi, which they do. The KTX does have Wi-Fi on the train. But I recommend after you purchase your ticket, take a screenshot of your phone to show the QR code. At least have that as a backup. That way, if they come to your phone and you're trying to load it up, and if it doesn't load, maybe the internet's slow or maybe the Wi-Fi is out or any reason, you can quickly pop open that photo and let them scan it. They will not ask you to scan it though, if you're in the right seat. All they're doing is when the people go through the aisle, they're checking at which seats should not be occupied. Because the way that they have it is they buy a ticket, like I'm going to buy a ticket from Busan to Seoul, but someone else is going to be getting on the train from Daegu going to Seoul. They already bought their ticket, so that seat has to be available. So you might see empty seats and think, oh, no one bought that seat. But then that person gets on later, and if you decide, oh, I'm just going to sit down a little bit, and the person coming to check sees that you're sitting in a seat that's supposed to be empty, then they're going to say, hey, can we see your ticket? But they're not going to go up to you regularly sitting in your assigned seat and say, can we see your ticket? Because they already know there's supposed to be someone there. If you're wondering. But yeah, you can buy your ticket in advance. If you don't want to deal with the app, say you're worried about the app, you don't want to deal with that, go to the train station in advance and buy your ticket in advance. You can speak with a live person. You can speak English. Say like, hello, I want to go here to here, this day, this time, this train. And you can buy it in advance. And they'll say, sure, okay, you can pay with cash, whatever. They'll give you your ticket. It'll work. No problem. But if you don't want to have to go to the train station to do that, then yes, the KoRail app will work. And yeah, to answer your question, they do sell out. If you are, however, the app though will not let you buy what's known as 입석. Ipsok means standing. Sok means seat. Ipsok would be the seats that don't have seats. So if you buy an Ipsok ticket, it just means you're supposed to stand somewhere in the center area. Like I said, you're not in the aisle next to people, but you're somewhere in the center area, just between the carts. And sometimes the workers that go down the aisle will check your ticket if you're just standing there. And then they'll say, hey, you can go sit down here. And they'll tell you where you can sit down that's open. And then that's good. I've had that happen a few times where I bought an Ipsok ticket. So if they're all sold out, you can just go to the train station directly and you can still get Ipsok. So you can tell them that. Say, hey, I want to take the KTX from this to this. They'll say, oh, it's sold out. And you can say, 입석은 돼요? 입석은 있나요? Are there any standing seats? 입석은 없어요? And they might say, oh yeah, we have that. Do you want that? You still pay full price, but you're just standing up. However, I've done Ipsok before. It's not that bad. Like, you just sit on the floor. I mean, it's not as comfortable as getting the nice chair. And I would not recommend it if you're going like 3 hours, like a 4-hour train or something from like Busan to Seoul. Don't do it. It's not worth it. But if you're just doing like an hour and a half, it's not that big of a deal. And you can just use your phone sitting down. It's kind of cool. You feel like you're, what's that? Like, you're just like grabbing onto a train like you're not supposed to be there. It feels like you're stowing away on the train. But you had to pay for it. You're in California. Yeah. Have you been to, is there anything Korea related I should check out? Yes, we do have a Koreatown. Is there anything you should check out here? Just food. There's a lot of good Korean food here, like legitimately better than Korea. Some of it is better than Korea, especially like the restaurants that have meat. I found that a lot of the restaurants that sell meat in Koreatown are better than the meat you get in Korea. Like, it's higher quality, but it's more expensive. Besides that, though, not really. I don't go to Koreatown except for grocery shopping. Can you ever reach a point where you know enough grammar points that if you see a new one, you can just guess it without looking it up? Yep. Yeah, I don't look up stuff nowadays unless it's for like a lesson or, I mean, I can still look it up after to verify if I see some like obscure grammar form. You can understand by the context now. No point to learning Korean. Confirmed. Yeah, you can speak English with most people in Seoul. You don't need to learn Korean, but I wouldn't go so far as say no point. You are missing out on a ton if you don't speak Korean. But if you want to go to Korea to travel, you can get by without any Korean. But yeah, you're not going to have the same experience as someone who actually speaks. There's lots of things you can't do if you don't speak Korean. I sometimes find the amount of grammar points overwhelming, but then I also imagine that since there are some that derive from others, you can eventually just get it from previous knowledge. Yeah, it feels like it's a never-ending amount of grammar forms in Korean until you realize when you start talking with people, most people reuse the same dozen. Like 99% of the time, it's going to be the same few dozen grammar forms over and over and over again. And then every so often you'll hear another grammar form, but you like don't really need it to understand. You can still get the gist of what they're saying without knowing that. And then later you can learn it. And now you know that extra one. And then maybe now you sometimes hear another one. But you can get most of what's going on with a small vocabulary of between 3,000 to 5,000 words to be like practically fluent, or at least fully conversational with just 3,000 to 5,000 words. It's not really that much. I think Korean is easy in that if you just learn the most common 3,000 words, like not just from a list, but like from talking with people and listening a lot. If you just learn the most common 3,000 words, you're going to be like easily over 90% of what's going on. After podcast prep is done, will we see more Billy gaming? Probably not, because at least not for a while, because the podcast right now is like, I'm in full podcast mode as well as Monster X. I've been doing that for 2 weeks already. By the time I finish, I'll have been fully immersed in Monster X for like over 4 weeks, I think, by the time the series is ready. Besides that and the podcast. So that's all my time's going into that. And after the first few episodes are done, then I'll start to have a little more free time. So we might see. Billy, I didn't make it to Itaewon, but my friend here has a friend who has a Mexican restaurant called Koreanos. One owner's from SoCal, the other's from Austin. It's supposed to be pretty good. I've never been there, but if there are any actual Mexican food restaurants in Korea at all, they would be in Itaewon. Now, would I go to a Mexican restaurant in Korea, in Itaewon? No, it's not gonna be possible for it to be as good as stuff you can get in SoCal. Now, if you've never been to SoCal, then sure, it could be pretty good. If you've never been to California or Texas or anywhere with Mexican food. But the ingredients that go into Mexican food are standard, normally expensive ingredients in Korea. The meat is more expensive in Korea. Cheese is really expensive. Avocados, crazy expensive. What else goes into a lot of Mexican food? Oh yeah, tortillas. You can't buy corn tortillas in Korea easily. You can buy flour tortillas sometimes, but I haven't seen corn tortillas. So you'd probably want to make those or get a distributor that makes them. What else? Salsa, good luck unless you want to get the jar salsa that says like restaurant style, chunky, like that kind. Unless you want that, you're going to have to make your own salsa. Chips. I've never seen fresh tortilla chips. You can only buy like basically unseasoned Doritos. I've seen those types of corn chips in Korea. You can buy them like Costco and stuff. But if you actually wanted to get chips like you would get at a Mexican restaurant where they actually make them there, then you would have to make them. The restaurant would have to be making corn tortillas and then making them into triangles and then deep frying them all by themselves, right? Bean dip you can buy in Korea lately. Nacho cheese, you can buy that. But there's just a bunch of ingredients that don't exist or they're very expensive in Korea that I can't imagine them making very much money on a restaurant that charged affordable prices. Like if they sold one taco each for like $5, then I could imagine there being good tacos, but people wouldn't pay that. So it's more likely that each taco would be like $3 in Korea. And that's just going to be, it's just going to have to be lower quality, less meat, because they wouldn't be able to afford to keep it going. So yeah, I wouldn't really bother getting Mexican food in Korea. The best Mexican food I've ever had in Korea would be something I'd consider like, okay, in California. It was good, like really good food, but not great Mexican food. More like fusion. That's pretty much all I've had is like the Mexican food I've had in Korea has all been fusion style, like not completely Mexican. Or it'll be like mixing Tex-Mex. It'll be like Tex-Mex, but they'll call it Mexican. I've had that a lot too. I'm like, they're different. It's like saying Korean food, but giving someone sushi. It's like, that's Japanese food. Or saying Japanese food and giving someone kimchi. Like, Yeah, take care, Flo. Would the podcast be all in Korean? No, it's going to be a mixture. You're going to get English explanations of Korean concepts. We'll get some Korean guests. So some portions of the podcast episodes will be all in Korean, depending on the episode. Salsa sauce. Yeah, salsa sauce. That's right. Why would someone go to Korea and not eat Korean foods? Exactly. My man or my woman. I don't know. Becky. I want a soup. My Becky. Exactly. My Daemari. Exactly. Why would you go to Korea and not eat Korean food? The exception would be Korean food that people don't think is it's actually Korean food, but people don't see it as Korean food. Something like jjajangmyeon, which sounds like Chinese food, but it's made in Korea and it's totally different than the original Chinese recipe. That I would consider to be Korean food. Have jjajangmyeon when you're in Korea. It's fantastic. It's not the same as Chinese food. It doesn't have a Chinese food feeling either when you eat it. But yeah, don't get like McDonald's and stuff when you go to Korea. It's not any better than it is in the US. I mean, it's a low bar, but it's about the same. Just get Korean food when you're in Korea. The exception would be is if you're living in Korea, then sometimes you'll have a craving for like, oh man, I really just want some tacos. Then, there's nothing you can do. You just gotta go down to Itaewon. You gotta get the best you can get in Korea. And maybe you'll pay for it. Maybe it's not as good as at home, but it'll scratch the itch. Like, oh, okay, man, these are good like that. Even if you compared it with, side by side with a real one and it's not as good, it's still good enough. It's still going to be really good. Mikhail says, what do Koreans say instead of bless you? The answer is they don't say anything because you don't, sneezing is kind of considered, it's kind of like someone coughing. If that's an okay analogy, you don't do it on the table. Like if you're eating with people, would you just go like cough? No, you turn to the side or you leave the table for a second. You put your head down, you sneeze into at least you sneeze into your elbow, but maybe you have a handkerchief or something. And then you just go back to what you're doing. It's kind of considered a little bit impolite. So no one says anything. Keith says, I plan on trying a lot of Korean food, but I got to try a Korean burger. Okay, Keith, do your research though, because Korea does have some good burgers. I've been to a lot of Korean burger restaurants because I like hamburgers. The majority though have been a disappointment where I eat them and I think it's good, but it's not what I wanted. I've tried a bunch of ones like expensive places like 30,000 won for a burger. And there are some places that are like legitimately almost as good as what I would consider a really good burger in the US. Like close enough that if I had it in the US, I would never think this is like not a good burger. I would always think, oh, it's good. But I've only had one burger where I thought was just as good, if not better, than a burger that I've had in the US. There's a place in Suwon. I will not say the location because I don't want to dox myself because it's kind of like, it's only a few, it's not a few blocks. It's a few bus stops. So not that close, but a few bus stops from where I sometimes stay in Korea. So I don't want to dox myself. I'll just say it's in Suwon. There is a smash burger style burger restaurant there. I think the owner spent some time in the US, just pretty standard story for most of the people who have like foreign restaurants there. Legitimately the best smash burgers I've ever had. And they're better than the smash burgers I've tried also in the US. Some like popular places in the US here. Oh man, they're so good. And they're so simple. He knows what makes them good. Like a lot of Korean burgers kind of go, they try to make them really fancy. Like they'll add tons of ingredients because people don't want to pay like, 10,000 won for a burger in Korea because it's just a piece of meat, right? So to make customers kind of justify it in their mind, it's common that Korean chefs will add lots of other toppings, like lots of vegetables and stuff. That way the Korean sees it and they're like, oh, it's got lots of vegetables. That must be high quality. When in reality, who eats a hamburger because it's going to make you healthy? Who the hell does that? We want, like, if we could blend the burger and pour that grease straight down our trap, that's the best kind of burger, right? So anyway, for a smash burger, what he does is, the owner guy, it's just the regular bun. Okay, nothing special, not like brioche bun, not like special sesame, just plain old bun. The patties are smashed thin, but they're actual like high quality, like low fat, good quality beef. It's like 1 or 2 patties, depending how many you want. A slice of American cheese, grilled onions, and that's it. Oh yeah, and a couple little pickles. That's it. Nothing else. No lettuce, no tomatoes, no like whole, like thick onion, no like special sauce or avocado, nothing else. Literally just the burger, American cheese, grilled onions, and a couple pickles. And you can add, ketchup and mustard on top if you want by yourself. And it is so good. Like the meat is just really juicy. The cheese is completely 100% melted. So it's like fused into the patty. It is so simple and it is so good. And I've compared it with smash burgers I've had here in Los Angeles and it still beats it a little bit. So like their other stuff is just okay. Their fries are just okay. They have a chicken burger. It's just okay. They don't have anything else. They don't have shakes, but just the burger. Yeah. Gwabegi, Mikey. Yes, gwabegi is what we would consider like like a twist donut. The ones that are just twisted with sugar on them. Korea has a long history with making those. I think they're from China, which would make sense because we have them in the US too. And we've had a lot of Chinese immigrants that brought over a lot of their food into the US. I think they're originally from China. But Korea has a long history making them too, and they do them legit. Like none of this, like it was baked at 6 a.m. and now they'll still sell it to you stuff. No. You get a kwabegi in Korea, you get a real one. Like so warm and soft. Like it's still like steaming sometimes. You get a really good one. You like bite into it and your teeth don't really feel anything because it's just so soft. Oh man. Get a good kwabegi. Best Korean burger restaurant is Chips Burger. Everyone says, I am Ben. They all tell me, Billy, you got to get this one. That's the best in Korea. So I go there. It's not. Oh, Billy, no. You went there? Now you got to go here. That's the best Korean burger. It's not. I'm convinced that people who live in Korea, they lost their burger tasting taste buds to tell what's like a good, in US standards, what's a good burger versus what's just a good tasting burger. Because I haven't had many burgers in Korea that I thought were not good. I've had a few where I thought, it's not good. Majority of burgers I have in Korea are like really good, but they're not like, they don't impress me. They don't make me want to go back there instead of getting a burger in the US is what I mean. But I've never heard of Chips Burger. I'll look it up. This one will, okay. I'll look it up. Chips Burger. I've never heard of that though, to be fair. I have heard of most of the popular ones that people recommend. They always say like, oh, this burger, it's just as good as In-N-Out. It's not. Oh man, that's just as good as that. It's not. I'm missing hotdog. Ah, yeah. Hotdog is like I'm not trying to show how it looks like a pancake, but the dough is glutinous. It's like sticky dough. It's like a donut. That's a better way to describe it. It's like a thin, gooey donut. And the inside has brown sugar. And then they also sell 씨앗 hotdog, which has like seeds in it. So they put like, I'm not sure what kinds of seeds in it. I think it's tat. What's tat? I can't think of pine seed. What am I thinking? Anyway, there's a seed called tat that goes inside of it sometimes. Just various little seeds. And yeah, it's really good. Really hot. It's like lava temperature. It's like a thin donut. Inside's got gooey brown sugar and stuff. Hotdog is good. Sunflower seed. Yeah, sunflower seeds are in there. Pumpkin seeds sometimes. It depends. Yeah, if you message me on Discord, I will tell you, Keith, the place. I just don't want to just, mass announce it to everyone because, yeah. But it is that good. I would actually recommend, while I'm in the US, I sometimes think about it and say, oh man, I'm going to get one of those next time I go to Korea. And it's not Korean food at all. It's just a dang good smash burger. Besides that though, the only Korean food I ever crave, the only food I ever crave in Korea is going to be Korean food. I usually don't feel like, oh, I'm going to get some Chinese food next time I go to Korea. Like I never really think that because I can get Chinese food here. There are tons of good Chinese restaurants in the US, especially in Chinatown. I mean, Chinese people built all of our railroads for the most part, I think. So they've been in the US for a long time. We've got a lot of their good food here. But yeah, it's mostly just going to be Korean food when I go there. It's like, oh, I really want to have that Korean, whatever, this Korean restaurant. I like that place. But for American food, for anything that's not Korean food, I think really just the burger place. I really like that one. It's not that far from my place, but I can't walk there easily, but it's pretty easy to get to. Is it true that in Korea it's cheaper to eat out for every meal rather than buy groceries and cook? Yes and no. If you are living in Korea, it's going to be cheaper to cook for yourself because you can buy rice in bulk and the ingredients in bulk, and you can cook for yourself and you can have a really cheap meal every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But if you're touring Korea and you're buying the ingredients for the first time and you're going to buy like a little thing of rice, you're going to buy a little thing of this, yeah, it's cheaper just to eat out because you're not going to possibly save money by spending like 1,000원 on the rice and like 1,000원 on this banchan and 1,000원 on this banchan. And now you spent like 10,000원 just buying the ingredients to make your meal. And then you spend an hour putting it together. And then you have all this these dishes to clean and all this trash to wash and separate. Just go out to eat. But if you live in Korea, it's cheaper to cook, just like anywhere. Personally, I don't cook when I'm in Korea. Not because it's cheaper or anything or more necessarily more convenient, but because I want to eat Korean food. I'm only in Korea for a few months. I want to eat as much like Korean food as I can get. If I wanted to just cook Korean food, I can do that here right now. I have rice. Okay. Just one more question and then we'll go for today. MC says, as a vegetarian, there's only so much Korean food one could eat. It's going to be a little bit hard. I mean, there are plenty of vegetarian options in Korea, but you have to search for them. However, vegetarian is still doable. You still have some options. Vegan would be more difficult. You'll really have to search for those. There are plenty of restaurants that have vegan food from what I've heard. You just have to search to find where they are. Like every neighborhood will have some options, but you'll have to search out like, and if you are someone who eats, you don't eat regular meat, but you have fish, well, then you have a lot of options too. Charlie is waiting for you to end the stream to edit it. Yeah, Charlie, he'll take care of it. Right, Charlie? Right? Yeah, I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. All right, thanks, Charlie. I have a favorite vegan restaurant in Insadong. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Insadong, Myeongdong, Itaewon. Those are like tourist city. So you're going to have plenty of options for that kind of food. But even in smaller cities, you're going to still find plenty of vegan options. Did you already say what your first few podcasts are going to be? Yes, Keith, I have already written my first 3 episodes. For the most part. I'm still missing some stuff in it. Like every podcast episode will start with a current events report. So you can kind of keep up to date with what's going on in Korea. Like if your Korean friends are, hey, did you hear about this? Like I want you to be able to, anyone watching the podcast, I want them to be able to say, oh yeah, I have. For like big stuff like that. So that section, I can't write in advance. I have to wait and do it the day I film to get the most up-to-date information. Also, I can't script the sections I'm going to be talking about with guests. There's going to be a listening practice section, which I can't plan that. I have to talk about that with the person that'll be sending it in. So there's some stuff I can't prepare, but the stuff I'm going to be doing, like the topics, I've already picked and finished for the first 3 episodes. Brunch in Sweden is a bit underwhelming in comparison. Excited about the podcast release. Yeah, me too. Should be pretty fun. I'm hoping to, the reason I'm preparing 3 at once is it's not a normal thing. Normally it'll be like 1 episode every 2 weeks, probably. It might have to go to 3 weeks depending on how much time I have, but I'm hoping to do at least 1 every 2 weeks. But I want to have 3 ready to go out the door. That way you can kind of have a feel for what the podcast is going to be. I want it to be something you can listen to on a regular basis and give you lots of kind of a variety of information. It's not just me talking to myself for 30 minutes. It's specific topics. So I can't share what they are right now because I'll share it later on my Patreon page. But like, for example, this is not the first podcast episode. Like, let's say we do a podcast episode about K-pop, training to be a K-pop idol. Okay, just for example, this is not one of the first 3, but it's one of the ideas I've had. Then I would talk about first, general process for becoming a K-pop idol. Typically when do they start? What companies do they go through? How do they get scouted? All that stuff. I would have a guest segment on, which would be a former K-pop idol. We'd talk about their experiences. And yes, I do know a few people. Then we'd have another section that would be like listening practice, which would be something related to maybe K-pop or dancing or something like that. Then we'd have a word of the day related to it. We'd have there might be a small culture segment or like a travel segment, like expressions you can use, stuff like that. So there's like several segments kind of put together to make a podcast. And each episode is probably going to be around 30 to 40 minutes. So that's kind of a general thing about what an episode might look like. Okay. I think that's good for today. Thank you everyone for coming, and I will see you again next time. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. Are you guys still here? I think Billy ended the stream already. You guys should go. What did he always say every single time? 그럼 다음에 또 봐. Something like that, right? I can say it too. Yeah, Korean's pretty easy.